or kind of swishy sounding? Because I did a couple of UFO
I'm in my car,
programs.
so I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
what they sound like.
And actually, one of the black helicopters buzzed the radio station out here in West Nashville, in Big Pegram, and you could hear it, but it was really swishy, and it was almost like it was whispering. You know, it was so quiet. And I was playing frisbee with myself in the backyard, and it was so quiet. A black helicopter came up behind me, and I didn't even hear it. And it's sitting there within 100 feet of me, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if they're silent. And I've also had on my way to a UFO conference, a white van tried to run my car off the road, you know. So I've had, you know, physical things to do with this. I had one time when I was at a conference in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, which I'm going again. There was
a UFO abductee conference, or it's just a general?
Then also anything to do with paranormal
Yeah.
and those kinds of things. I had these marks on my thigh. They were red marks, but they had like dried blood. I don't know how they got there.
Right.
You know, they kind of looked basically the shape they were like the shape like this. The instrument that made them was like
So
that.
you didn't
Each
have
one
any
of them.
memory of the event of what might
A
have
vague memory of maybe like heat being applied, you know, kind of like I was, you know, like a soldering thing or something, you know, and that the idea, you know, was kind of a torture, I guess, or something. I don't know. But I mean, those marks were there, and I didn't put them there, and I don't know how they got there.
Right.
And they had dried blood in them and everything. So there's physical evidence to me,
Yeah.
even if to nobody else, that
Now,
these
have
things
you
have
tried to
gone
have
on.
yourself tested anyway, or you know, seen a psychiatrist, or you know, to see
Yeah,
is this all in my head, or what's
Oh
going
yeah,
on?
I've seen a psychologist, a licensed psychologist in Franklin or Brentwood for a number of years. I have seen her for alien abduction experiences, and
Right.
have had hypnotherapy, and you know have had objects that I thought that I had seen in my mind that turned out to be the layout of military airfields, and you know instruments that I've seen, you know, that were used on me and things like that.
Right.
Underground places with military people there, etc. I even sent an email recently to the VA Mental Health Research Unit and told them, you know, what my situation is. By your standards, I would be considered crazy, right?
Right.
So, you know, and the guy sent me back an email that basically said, the VA is not currently studying alien-human hybrids at this time, you know. But, you know, there's a local VA we can refer you to, so, you know.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
That's so
at the
much for
VA.
that idea.
At
you
least,
know?
at least they, you know, didn't poo-poo the idea. They addressed your question.
Well, I think he was. I think he was basically kind of humoring a nut.
Yeah.
Is exactly what he was doing, you know. You know, but and I said basically, I don't think I'm a nut by your standards. I would be considered crazy.
Yeah.
So I have actually considered going to the local VA and saying, you know, I must be crazy. You know, help me with
Right.
this. You know, and then you know make the sounds and see what they do. I don't know. You know,
Put you in the
they'll probably call the
psych
NSA.
ward.
You know.
Yeah, I actually had to get permission from the Department of Homeland Security at the Nashville VA to interview John E. Clayton,
Oh, I was going to say. I thought you were going to say to interview me. And I was like, what?
a Roswell witness. No,
Okay.
they definitely have a very impressive, because I got to go back in their offices because I had to talk to the guy there in charge to get permission to. They wouldn't let me film, but they did let me tape an audio of Mr. Clayton, who was he was the projectionist at the theater at Roswell, and it was his barracks that were supposedly, allegedly sent out to the crash sites. And he's in Stanton Friedman's book. Stanton Friedman, for those of you who don't know, is the nuclear physicist who kind of broke the cover-up on the Roswell case. And it's real easy for people to say, well, you know, there's no evidence to it, but there's real solid evidence that not only was there one crash site, but maybe two. Now, Barry, if anybody wants to get in touch with you about this, is there an email that they can contact you?
Yeah.
Email address?
B. Jernigan, that's Jernigan, 7040 at bellsouth.net.
Okay, and we'll have it on the screen so that everybody can see it. Now, have you encountered anyone like yourself at all? Not even one person?
The only person I ever encountered online that I thought was similar, he had some similar attitudes, and I do believe that he was a hybrid. And in fact,
Yeah.
the last I heard from him, he said he was living in China out of his safety because people were trying to get to him. Once I told him that I, you know, had been at NSA, he wouldn't talk to me anymore. he said, "Oh, well, you're part of the enemy. I'm not going to speak to you anymore." So that was really kind of a shame.
He
'cause
just
I
automatically thought you were disinformation, or?
Oh yeah, I think he thought I was a spook. Basically, is what he thought. You know, he thought I was one of them. You know, so he cut contact with me. But I think he may actually really have been a hybrid. I really do believe that.
But now, when you were at NSA, you didn't really, you weren't involved in anything like that at NSA. Just
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Right.
No. I think it's possible that I may have been involved in something that I just can't remember. You know, because I think they erase people's memories is what they do.
Right. Now, I've heard cases of where people were, you know, working one job in the day, and they would be more or less hypnotized, and they'd have them work them another shift at night, you know, 4 to 8 hours more, and they would wonder why they were tired all the time.
Yeah, well, when I was in Greece, a lot of times I would wake up in the morning and I would be exhausted. And the whole thing was that all night long my mind was working on something. It was trying to get a problem that was trying to get around something. That's the only way I can describe it. It was something very abstract. But I do believe that there are also government agencies that tap into people's brains and use their brains like big, you know, like major computers, you know, to run their computers. I do believe that that goes on as well. So that might have been, you know, part of that situation.
Okay, now if there's other people out there in a similar situation as yourself, or even different, but experiencing things that they can't understand or explain, is there any advice you can give to them to how to deal with it? Do you recommend they get, you know, a psychologist, or get
yeah,
some kind
I would say
stress management?
Yeah, go to yeah. There's I don't know what you can do for it. I mean, because you're different. You're not the same. Because it's you know, but it's. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I would say go to a psychologist and make sure that there's something else not going on. Because the psychologist, she told me that, you know, there wasn't anything else.
Right. Try to find a psychologist that's not going to treat you like you're just totally crazy, but that's going to try to understand, you know.
Well, she said you can function. I mean, you can pay your bills and you do all, you know, everything anybody normally does. I mean, you're not saying that the aliens are shooting you from on the TV or something. And I was like, no, of course not. You know, she said, well, you know, I can't say, you know, that there's anything wrong with you then, you know.
Well, Barry, it's been fascinating, and I thank you for being our guest on Mystery Us.
Well, thank you, Tony.